Welcome to the NLP Talks podcast, bringing you inspirational stories along with a good dose of potentially life-changing NLP strategies. I'm Laura Evans, multi-award-winning NLP trainer, and I'm on a mission to help you unleash your potential in business and life. I'm so glad you're here. Pull up a chair, listen in, and let's get started on revealing more about this transformational NLP toolkit. Hey, how you doing? I hope you're safe and well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to reveal today's episode. Now, Cat Perkins has always been a driven, talented career woman. She, as some would describe her, is a high flyer. And at 25 was in a senior management position in her organization, one of the youngest in her organization to have that grade. Now, to the outside world, she was a super confident career woman, but internally, she had imposter syndrome, she had self-sabotage strategies, and a huge amount of negative self-talk that, if she's honest, as she is in the podcast, at times really did hold her back. Now, NLP sped up her formula for success and enabled her to hit the ground running. She truly believes and says in the episode that there is nothing stopping her now. There was also a time when she wanted the old Cat back, and NLP helped her find that person too. She wanted to reignite that flame. Cat's a super busy woman with lots of hats that she wears, but she absolutely believes that time is absolutely no excuse to stop you from getting out of your own way. If you're interested in hearing how a successful career woman springboarded her career using NLP, you are going to love today's inspirational story. She's now the director and principal coach of Unstoppable Success Coaching. But let's go back and listen to what life was like for Cat before she found NLP.
I've always been really driven, always ambitious in terms of my career. But I did have a lot of, even though I set goals and I was ambitious in order to move through the different roles, I've always had a lot of imposter syndrome and negative self-talk and self-sabotage. And I just thought it was normal, really, before NLP. I just thought everybody had this. I thought I had it more than others at some points, and sometimes I thought I had it less. But I did think it was absolutely normal before NLP. I had times where I was more driven than not driven, and times I was more motivated than I wasn't motivated. So I just thought that was normal. I just thought that there was everybody had that.
So for you, there were times when you were on it, times you weren't on it, times the imposter syndrome took hold, times where you were like superstar. So the thing I love about your journey, and I know we're going to talk more about as we go, is you were already a really big high flyer, right? And I don't wish to kind of embarrass you, but you really were such a high flyer before you even found NLP. And I think what's always quite interesting when people that, are already very driven and already have huge bags of talent and potential, when they find NLP, I think it's quite interesting because if I'm right in saying you became a senior manager for the financial institution that you work for at 25 years old, right? Now, I'm not being funny, but I remember being labelled as high potential myself, and there's no way I would have been a senior manager at 25 years old. So tell us a little bit about that part of it.
I always had the fire in my belly, and in terms of like driven to the next level, always wanted the next challenge and to level up. And one of the youngest at that level and grade in the organization. And as soon as I got to that level, the interview process, I remember being interviewed 3 times for that role because I think it was genuinely, they were like, how are you going to be able to do this? Your whole team are going to be older than you. And I remember thinking about that and having that negative self-talk and that imposter syndrome. And I was like, yeah, they will. However, I really want this role. So I was having that dialogue with myself in order to get through the interview. When I remember the first day of having that role, and I'd worked hard for that, like really worked hard in order to get that role. And at some points I thought it was out of reach. And then when I got it, I had it. But then that's when everything set in then, because it was like, how can I do this role? Like I've sold myself. I've definitely shared that I've got the capabilities and I've got the talent in order to make this successful. But the reality is when you're in that position, then the imposter syndrome really really set in. And I remember sat there looking at the laptop on the first day and I was like, oh my God, what have I set up myself up to?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because like you say, you clearly had a huge talent. They wouldn't have given you to the job just if you were a blagger, right? You clearly had the skill. You clearly, they put you through the 3 interviews to check you really could do the job, And then, like you say, you sit there and then, the imposter syndrome really kicks in, and as other people looked at you as you went through, your career and you were, obviously, hugely successful very quickly, like, were the things they were saying to you and what you were feeling yourself, were they the same? Were they different? Like, what was going on here versus what everybody else out there was seeing?
Totally different. Externally, everyone's like, she knows what she's doing. I'm like, I think I was like a swan. So like from water, I was trying to remain calm and be like, I can do this job. But underneath there was huge imposter syndrome. It was like, how did I even get this job? How am I going to do it? And all that self-sabotage that if I'd have found NLP, all those nights worried, that time I was taking work home and procrastinating on what I was going to do. And it would have changed my life earlier.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about your NLP journey then, right? Because obviously, the listeners that are going to listen to this podcast are going to be interested in, so what did it do for you, Cat? And what difference did it make for you? So I remember you started your journey, if I'm right, doing our online diploma, which is where you started. So tell everybody a little bit about the journey.
Hugely interested in NLP, and obviously we'll talk about how I found you in a moment. And when I'd found you, it was the online course, so the diploma, and I think you had like a lockdown offer.
Yes,
you
did.
You totally took advantage of me in my house, not being able to do anything. I live on my own, and I love self-development. And I was like, oh my God, it's reduced. I'm going to do it. I have nothing else to do. I am going to give it all that my all, and I'm going to go diploma in NLP. So what I loved about the online course was I could do it in the garden. I didn't have to like put the dogs in anywhere, go anywhere. And I did it over the weekend. And I remember saying to you actually that it was so interactive and engaging for an online course. And I you know how many I've done. And I remember at one point in the course, you asked a question and I'm in my garden and I answered you because I was immersed in the experience. And I was like, do you know what? This is the woman that I want to train with. How can I just do 2 days? Because it didn't even scratch the surface, the diploma. It is the introduction to NLP. And it left me, and I'm sure many others, wanting more. So I think as soon as I'd finished that, I was on the phone to Lynn and I was like, so when would a prac course come up? Even though I told myself I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to do the online diploma, but I couldn't do it. And that was last May.
That was last May. Right. Okay. So just stop there just for a second, right? Because there's quite an interesting story as to how long you'd followed me for and how many times you'd seen me in action before you actually booked. Because as you're about to find out, folks, after every single course Cat's done with me, and she's done them all, she's always said, no, that's it. No more. That's it. No more. And I mean, here we are, right? She sat on the business course with me, how to set up a successful coaching business, and told me point blank on that course she was never setting up a coaching business. And here we are in launch week of her business. But we'll talk all about that a bit later. But just go back to that very point, right? So you'd followed me for a long time. A very good friend of yours, Jeff, had dragged you, I think, to a talk I did at the university. And you were like, no, I'm not doing the course. Anyway, you tell the story. What happened?
So my friend Jeff, who I know has done the podcast, he went through this life-changing experience. So I was like, oh my God, because I want a little bit more of that. And he mentioned that you had a talk in the university in Newport one evening, and you were doing it as part of a free talk to understand more about NLP and what you offered. And I was like, okay, I will go and do that. What I was doing as part of that was I was like, I'm really interested in NLP, but it has to be somebody that is engaging and is going to keep my concentration. So I was like vetting you in a sense, because I was like, right, let's go see what she's got to say and whether this will be really interesting for me. And then you it was amazing. Like I walked away from the course and I was like, how can I not then do it? But life kind of got in the way a little bit because I'd like followed you across various different things. And it was only when we hit the pandemic that I seen the offer for the course. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do the diploma.
I love it. I love it. But it's true, right? And I know you've had a similar experience, but, I think selecting the right trainer for any discipline, NLP or any other, but selecting the right trainer is so important, because you're going to sit in front of that person for day after day after day.
Absolutely.
And so many of us, and I know you and I have had similar experiences of having bought courses in the past and been burnt. And it does make you cautious, because you sit there and think, oh, I don't know, is this right? Is this not right? And it's a big decision, right?
Oh, absolutely. The amount of times with work that I had been like on these courses where you've got not the best trainer and you're like committed to it, and this would be my own money and a huge investment in my personal development, and I needed to make sure that it was the right person.
Well, I'm very glad you chose me. So lots of love to you. So let's go back then to the story. So you've sussed me out. You've then done the diploma in a whole weekend and did all of that. And then you rang in and said, I want to do prac. And you just booked prac on its own because that's all you were going to do. So what was the moment on the practitioner course where you kind of sat there and went, yeah, I think this is probably for me? Like, I can see, was it a light bulb moment where you saw things changing in yourself, or that you could see you could help others? Like, what was it for you?
I think so the online diploma was a lot of more theory. With the opportunity to put that into practice would have been on prac. So going into prac and being taught something that can change somebody's life, and then straight away having the opportunity to then put that into practice, I was like, wow, this is the course for me, because I'm not only just getting a theory, I'm getting the opportunity to practice straight away. And then also getting the opportunity to have that change work done on me straight away afterwards. So you go like 3 in 1, haven't you? You get the theory, you do it, and they do it, and somebody else does it to me. So I think the light bulb moment for me on prac was where some of the linguistical stuff that we were talking about and the specific techniques that I found really interesting, it was like more of that's going to come as you start your journey into a coach. And I remember saying to you, I'm not going to be a coach. I'm going to come on the course and I'm going to do personal development. It's all for me, all going to be selfish. I want to get rid of that negative self-talk, self-sabotage, imposter syndrome. And I just want to be able to do what I do without the noise. But when we were dipped on prac, you dipped your toe into what the opportunity could be if you went to be a coach. You need to know more of the theory, more of the practical. And I was like, I can't just leave you on Saturday, because we were doing prac Sunday to Saturday. And I was like, that would be it. That would be the end of my journey. I'm not going to learn any more about NLP. So day 4, and if Ali's watching, she'll remember this. I just looked at Ali and I looked at you, and I just walked up with my card and I was like, I want it all. I just want to buy everything. I want to do the coach course. I want to come back and do masters. I want to do the business courses. And I was like, here you go. And it was like, are you going to think about that or anything? No, I'm in. I'm fully in. I'm going to play full out, because there's no way that I could end this on Saturday.
I love it. I love it. Now, I'm going to read some of the things that you do, right? So some of the people that are watching that know you probably know just how busy you are. And I know one of the things that a lot of people have to consider when they're trying to book a practitioner course is, have I got time? And will it be worth it? And all those things. So here's some of the things Cat does with her time, right? And if you follow her on social media, you'll know this woman never stops. So she is mum to 2 lovely dogs and does at least 10,000 steps every single day. So that's her exercise well and truly on the way. Yeah. She is also the chair of the trustees, the chair of the board of trustees for Women's Aid here as well. She heads up a business women's network in her job in a financial institution of 2,000 members, and she's the chair for South Wales. She has a full-time job doing comms and other internal engagement type activities, and has just launched a coaching business. So, Cat, I'm sure one of the things that crossed your mind when you booked your practitioner course was, do I have the time or am I too busy? Because I'm not being funny. Of all the people I know, you could so have played that I'm too busy, I can't do this card. So what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. And it did go through my mind, if I'm honest, because I'm sat in the garden doing the online diploma and I'm like, I've got the time now because of the
your degree. I forgot your degree. How could I forget your degree? 2 months off finishing your degree as well.
Yeah, 2 months off finishing my degree. So as you can imagine, with all of that, it was a big decision in order to say, oh, can you take this on? But I genuinely, I don't know what spell you put me under in the diploma course, but it was like, if I don't do it now, when do I do it? Yeah. When do I have the opportunity to do it? And what was really important for me was, I've got all that stuff on my plate, and anyone who works close to me, and I can see Shell's just said, no one does time management like you. But I am very, very good at planning what I do and what's important to me. But I add all that negative self-talk. So I would go to Women's Aid and I'd have my chair hat on, and I'd have a great experience there, and vice versa across work and the degree and everything. But always in the back of my mind, it was like, you're not good enough to do this, or this. What are you going to do when you get a degree? What are you like? Are you worthy of that degree? Like, because it's with a prestigious business school, and constantly add that negative self-talk. And I thought, well, you know what? I can, and it was a big challenge. Keep all that on my plate and take on all the master's journey, because this was really important to me to knock out of the park. Because actually, now that I look back, so when did I complete a master's in? So I qualified in April. And when I look back now, I've had no noise. So the business, which I know we're going to come on to, that wasn't going to be launched until I finished the degree at least. And what have I done? And because nothing is holding me back now, anything I thought was holding me back, any obstacles, anything that was in my way, we obliterated it as part of the NLP journey. There is nothing stopping me at the moment. And I know that might sound, okay, but it genuinely is. And the proof's in the pudding, because most of the stuff that I said I wasn't going to do, I've done. And I've hit goals much quicker. And don't get me wrong, I've always been ambitious. So I knew that everything that was on my plan would have happened, but would it have happened this quickly? And would I have been able to do it as successfully without dealing with all that self-sabotage? And I don't believe I would have. I think NLP is what it's done for me, is sped up the formula, and it enabled me to just like hit the ground running.
I think you've hit on a really good point there, because for lots of us, and I know this used to apply to me too, like, you take on more, like you do a much more senior role, a management role, like you're doing a really responsible job with huge demands and pressures on you, and all these other roles where you also have all these responsibilities, and you're doing a degree. There comes a point where you think, well, so when's enough? Like, at what point that I'm actually good at stuff? When do I actually believe that I'm worthy? When do I actually believe that I'm worth it and I deserve it? Like, when does that happen? And I think, pre-NLP, a bit like yourself, I was always wondering, well, I prove myself, I'll go to a prestigious business school and I'll do another degree. Then it will be all right. And then you do it, and then you sit and think, well, nothing's different. Oh, I know what, I'll go for another promotion, because then when I've done that, I'll feel like I've reached it and I've achieved it. And you do it, and then, like you just described, you sit there in a really senior role at 25 going, am I going to do this? And I think that's the killer question, right? Is people are going to want to know, like you talked about, a lot of internal noise, a lot of internal chatter, a lot of I'm not good enough and imposter syndrome and self-sabotage. Did NLP turn that all off?
Absolutely. It's gone. I couldn't believe it the day after with the masters. It was just so clear. And actually, I'm much more focused. So whereas I'd have that chatter and I would look at my goals and I'd be like, right, what am I going to do? How am I going to do that, etc. And then I'd be having that internal dialogue where I'm like, no, you're not going to be able to do that, Cat. You haven't got the time to do that. You're not good enough to do that as well. And it was all gone. So you're just much more focused because you haven't got that opportunity to have any self-doubt. And that's always been the killer for me. I remember when I was really young, I had that fire in my belly. And I was like, if I wanted something, I went and I got it. And as I got older, the fire dulls down because your resilience is tested and you have many more life experiences that really do put you through the mill. And I got to a point where that fire was out. And I wasn't depressed or anything, but I knew I wasn't me. And it was like, Cat's gone. And I knew to do what I wanted to do and my purpose and really what my dream life to be, that fire had to be reignited. And in terms of the NLP world. I was like, I'm going to be able to do it through doing this. And I did it quite quickly, actually. So I did the diploma in May. And then 13 months later, managed to qualify as a master coach. And it didn't feel like they were next to each other. We had massive breaks in between them all. But on top of writing an 11,500 word dissertation, keeping a full-time job, and bringing a Doberman puppy into the family, like that's just not a normal puppy. It's like a dinosaur. Actually, when I sit here now and have that conversation with you, I'm getting quite emotional, because it's like, never in a million years when I sat in that garden in May did I think that I would be here now, A, on your podcast, because this was what I was listening to walking around the river, and B, qualified with my own business, director of my own business. I'm 32 years of age, and this was not in the plan for a very, very, very long time. So I know I say this to you all the time, like, without your support, and if I didn't find you and vet you and follow you like a super fan for very long, I don't know whether I'd have had the same experience and the same journey. So I'm truly grateful that there has been a lot of hard work to put into it. But I think the reason that I was so driven towards the hard work is because I wanted to be back to me. And I knew this was the magic toolkit in order to do that, because I seen it happen. Like, a very close friend to me did this, and he did it like probably about a year, 18 months before me. And I was like, wow, it's been transformational for you. And I want a piece of that. And that's where it all started. So what a journey, considering I said to you how many times, I'm not going to be a coach. I'm not going to be a coach. I'm not going to do masters. It's all for my own development.
I think I just started ignoring you after a while. When you kept going, I'm not doing it. Yeah, Cat, all right, yeah, whatever. That's whatever. And then out came the credit card again. Oh, wait, yeah, I want to do it. So, yeah, and I just think, it's, I like, honestly, I'm in awe, absolutely in awe, and as another driven woman talking to another driven woman, like, I am seriously in awe at what you have achieved, in the time I've known you, and, just how successful you are. And I genuinely have no idea how you spin all these plates, have such a successful career, do all of these other things that you do to give back, like the women's aid stuff that you do, and, and leading, 2,000 women in a financial institution, showing them that it's possible, showing them that life can be different, showing them the way and going, guys, come on, follow me, like, this can be done. I just think, I think, it's so easy to be so busy as you are, but I think you need to stop and recognize just what an inspirational woman you are. Like, you inspire so many people, and only the people I know, if I think about all the other people that are in your life, I bet you've hugely impacted so many lives already. And now you've got this coaching business, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So thank you very much. I appreciate your kind words, but I think they got to come straight back to you, because you are such an inspiration to so many people, and you're such a great role model. Such a great role model of don't let life stop you, like, and I loved your point earlier about the fact that you've sped up the formula. Like, I've got no doubt you would have become so successful in your own right, because you would have, done the traditional trip and fall method. You would have found a way. You're a driven woman. You would have found a way. But to think that actually NLP has sped that up, that it's made it easier, and, and it's turned off all this negativity and the self-talk and all of that stuff that was holding you back. I think I remember when I found NLP, and you're probably better to relate to this, but, I think sometimes when you're that driven, it takes an effort, right? Because you've got to push yourself into situations that you don't really want to go into, but to be successful, you have to do it. You have to stand up and do that presentation. You have to put that mask on in front of your team and all of that. But you're doing it like kind of pushing water up a hill, because you are successful. You can be successful. But now, when you haven't got the self-talk, and now you've got the clarity and all of that, that success comes easier, right? It's not as much effort.
Absolutely. And that brings me to an interesting opportunity. Before I even entered the NLP world, a lady reached out to me that was in my network, and she had me on the radar, and she was like, can you come and give a talk at this massive organization? So it was not even the organization I worked at, for International Women's Day. for what was 200 women in the office, and then they were going to stream it all over the country. And as she's talking to me, this is pre-NLP, imposter syndrome, saying, it's like, you can't do that. You drive past that place to go to work. You can't be there. And then she said, you'll be the keynote speaker, and the theme's going to be resilience, and like based on everything you've got in the pack. Because I don't see that, sometimes, and that's been probably not a good thing before NLP. I didn't see how much I actually used to take on. I used to just do it. And when people used to say, how do you do all that? I didn't recognize it. I was in like the zone, and you get it done. So the fact that she was like, actually, I think this talk would inspire a lot of women. And every single part of me said no. So that opportunity is on the door. And every part of me said no. My head, like anxious about it. I was like, have I got the confidence to do that? Yeah, I do it in my company that I work for. But in terms of doing it that way, I was more comfortable in terms of the audience that I did it with. But if I was to do it externally, I didn't feel that I had the capability to do it, like real big imposter syndrome. And I remember my heart said yes, because if there were women that want to hear my story and I can inspire one woman out of that, then my heart was like, you've got to do it, Cat. It's International Women's Day, and that's somewhere that you used to drive past when you used to work in the call center. So what an opportunity. And I remember at the time, so talking to Jeff, the other master coach, and he installed an anchor for me in terms of bringing me back. I was a nervous wreck. I knew what I had to say, but I was so nervous I was going to get tongue-tied, trip up, not be able to get my point across. And obviously it was an environment that I wasn't used to because it was external. And I remember Jeff installing a calming anchor with me, and I've still got that anchor, because remember, I wouldn't let anyone touch it in any of the training. I've still got that anchor, and he's topped it up for me over the years. And that was my first experience really of the NLP toolkit on me, and the change that made, because I took a photo of me before I pressed my anchor, and I look, and even looking at that photo now, I feel sick looking at that photo. But actually the event was really successful. The feedback that I had, the network connections afterwards, the women that reached out to me and said, oh my God, like following your story, you've spurred me on to do this. So it was absolutely the right thing to do. And how bad would that have been if I didn't do it? Because I just didn't feel confident on that day. I would have let so many people down. So without that toolkit, it was holding me back. So yeah, thanks very much, Jeff, for that. I do owe you the favour. But that was my first experience of the toolkit, and I remember it was phenomenal.
I just think it's amazing. But like you say, like, imagine had you not done that, like I'm sure as hell you would have inspired way more than one person that day. You would have inspired hundreds of people between the live audience and the live stream and everything else. And to think that, you would have potentially denied them that inspiration because of where you were at. And there's so many people like that. It's a whole head heart thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, I really should do it, but I can't do it. And what if? And
absolutely. All through the year in my career, sometimes I work for managers that were like, you don't show that. You put your window up and you don't show that. That's how you feel it, because you've got to you fake it till you make it. Well, that's not entirely true, and no one can relate to you. And I'm sure there's a lot of women that might be listening to this, because I've shared it on my LinkedIn, that like, oh my God, I thought you were really confident in that session, but actually I'm there clicking my anchor. But now, because the purpose of what I would have been getting across, that they don't even come into it now. The imposter syndrome doesn't even come into it, and that through the lives that I've been doing this week. So yeah, without this toolkit, I would have still been in that space where you have that conflict all the time of, can I do it, can I not?
No, absolutely. So I've put it off for long enough. We need to talk about this week. So before we went live tonight, Kat and I were having a quick chat about when she did that course. So, we talk a lot on this podcast about how NLP has helped people and in various different areas of their life. And I don't usually talk hugely about the business side of what I do and helping people to create and launch coaching businesses and all that kind of stuff. But this is a very special week. Now, back in November of last year, so as we're recording this live, we're in July 2021, for those of you that listen to this in the years to come. So in November 2020, this lady was sat on a setting up your successful business course with me for 2 days and sat in a very front row. I'll never forget her, sat there, go, yeah, but I'm never going to run a coaching business, Laura. I'm not really sure whether I'm going to use this. And I'm loving it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to use it. But I'm loving it anyway. And she sat there through the whole 2 days, right? I'm not going to use it, right? And here we are in July of the following year in launch week of Unstoppable Success Coaching, of which you, my love, are the director and principal coach. I mean, I'm like, oh, it's such an amazing week. So like, okay, we need to understand, right? How do we go from November going, Laura, I'm not running a coaching business, to July with one of the most successful launches I've ever seen a coach do, which is huge credit to you. Like what happened? How did it happen?
And when you put it like that, it's like 6 months, 7 months. Wow, lots has happened in that space. So yeah, I was convinced that I had too much on my pad this year with the degree, because obviously I'm only 3 months from completing that. And I was like, no, it'll be something in the future. But following the business course, I went on to do my coach qualification. So over 4 days in the classroom. So that was getting the fire started in my belly. And I was like, all right, okay. So everything that I've gone through, I can work with people to make this change and change their life. And I'm like, why would I sit on that? So I remember thinking in my head, right, okay, yeah, maybe in a couple of years' time. And then I went through masters, which you know is two intense weeks of real putting into practice, and knowing that I was the capability that I had grown as part of NLP. Like I go from day one to not understanding it to like 10, 11 months later, and I'm making real massive change on somebody that has got a real big limiting belief or something that's really holding them back. And I've seen them change in front of me, their whole face, and they feel lighter and their face is glowing. And I was like, how can I not use this toolkit? And my worry was always, if I don't do it now, when will I do it? And could my skills go out of date? And I was fired up, because the motivation that you get from the back of masters, and I know if some of them are watching today, is phenomenal. You leave that room with your qualification, you know how much hard work and effort that you've put into it, and you just want to start using it as soon as possible. So that is why this week, out of the blue, because only a really select few people knew we were launching this week, we launched, because I just can't sit on it anymore. I feel like I can make real difference to other people's lives, and I want to do it out as soon as possible, regardless of the degree. I've spun all my plates before. I'll just continue to do it again. It is a new plate being a business owner. I'm not going to lie, but this is all the stuff you taught me on the coaching course. So now I got the opportunity to put it into practice. And before it was more like it went on the shelf and it was like, yeah, maybe one day. And I was out and it was being highlighted through. And it's like, what do I need to do next? So that's how the journey went to there. And that 7 months has been crazy, because if you think about it, the mindset has completely shifted. So I was like, nope, never going to be a coach. Now I've got a business card. So
yeah, look, people. So those of you listening to the podcast won't see this, but I've got all these wonderful cards and things that Cat sent me when she launched this week. And so yeah, and I love the handwritten one. That was just amazing. For those on the podcast that can't see what I'm showing to the camera, Cat wrote on here, what a journey. I would never be here without your support. Thank you for everything. And I will forever treasure that. I love my thank you cards and stuff. So let's just recap just for a minute, because we're going to go and talk about some of the stuff you now do and how you help people and things like that. But let's just pause for a moment, right? So we go from November 2020, I'm not running a coaching course or business, to July 2021 going, I'm now a director of a company called Unstoppable Success Coaching. And the one big thing that happened in the middle of that was your personal development. The breakthrough that you had on your master prac, I have absolutely no doubt was a significant contributing factor to you finally putting to bed all of that stuff that had made life hard for you. I won't say it held you back, because I don't think it did. You were hugely successful, but it made life hard. It made it, you had to fight for what you had. It didn't come easily, and you had to dust yourself off, and you had to get back up and fight another day. And that's hard to do when your mindset is counterintuitive to what you want to be doing. And your mindset's taking you over here going, no, we don't do this stuff. And then the other part of you's going, no, but I want to. And that's just massive. So, right. So let's talk about unstoppable success coaching. And we'll give out your contact details at the end of the podcast. If people want to reach out to you, they can do so. So I know that the business that you set up and the people that you now help. And by the way, folks, right, just hang on before I do this. Kat's not given up her day job, just for the record. So when people go, a lot of people go, oh yeah, but Laura, I can't have a full-time job and be a coach. So it's one or the other. Well, this woman is living proof that you can hold down a senior manager role full-time and still have a part-time coaching business, right? This is not a one or the other. This woman is doing both right now, right? So let's just get that clear for the record. So in your coaching business, which obviously you fit around your full-time job and all the other things that you do, you're helping career-driven individuals who are stuck and want to get to that next stage, but they just don't seem to be able to get there. And I know, again, before we started the podcast there, you were talking about people that are stuck. They kind of want that dream job, but they just don't know how to get there, and you're helping them. So anyway, there's my summary. Now it's over to you. Would you tell everybody what's it all about and what are you doing?
Absolutely. So I think for me, the brand was really important. So it's not just I'm going to be a coach. It was, why am I going to be a coach? And if I had stopped every single time I had that negative self-talk or that imposter syndrome, I wouldn't be where I am now. But I did have that trip and fall method. So I would go down this route and then I might do it the wrong way or go a different route and trip. And it was an obstacle course. It was really hard to navigate. And for my career, yes, I've been successful when I look back, but actually, if I had this toolkit then, I would have been able to do things quicker and sped it up. So for me, unstoppable success is if you want something, don't let anything stop you. And it was really important that success and unstop was in the brand. And that's the purpose of it, is to work with so many people when they get to wanting their goal or their dream and they're like, nah, I can't do it, or I don't know where to start, or it's too hard, but it isn't. Genuinely, small changes and some bigger changes, depending on what is gone on in terms of your career, then this can make this happen. And for me, if I had this opportunity to work with someone like me at that time, I don't know, clone me and send me back, I would have got through things a lot more focused, a lot more quicker, and actually had the opportunity where I would be able to talk to somebody and be really championed on. And that's the purpose of Unstoppable Success, and various different things, packages available. But I guess what's been really interesting this week is the amount of traffic on the career packages. And I think I give off the brand around helping with the career, which is brilliant. I knew they were going to be really popular. So yeah, I guess it's helping you from stuck to unstoppable is kind of the tagline at the moment. But every client is completely individual and they're all really bespoke, and being able to change somebody's life. And when I think back to some of the people that I've worked with, they're in jobs that they hate. They haven't got the flexibility in the job. They haven't got the hours that they want to do. They're working weekends. They're not seeing their children. And actually, by just looking at what your skill set is and reframing it, you'll be surprised at how many transferable skills you've got across the different sectors. And that's where I come in and I can help unlock what is holding you back, get rid of any of those limiting beliefs, and really set you on the path for success. So I'm really excited about that, and various different talks and stuff this week, because there's so many people interested, and I'm really excited about being able to make change.
I love it. And week one of your launch, and you just said that all so eloquently. I'm like, you sound like you've been doing this for years. It's just amazing. So without divulging any, of course, confidential information, don't name anybody or whatever, but I just would be curious, and I'm sure our listeners would be curious to hear some of the success stories, that you've already had with some of the people that you've been working with. Because I know officially the launch is this week, as we record this podcast. But obviously I know since you finished your master prac and stuff, you've been doing stuff to help people. So you've already been helping people. So are there, any kinds of clients you've already worked with that already kind of stand out in your mind that you could tell us about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've shared those testimonials through the website, really, and the results. But I guess for me, that really one was a lady I was working with. She had fitness goals, really wanted to get fit, had the energy towards the fitness goal, but it wasn't happening for her. And she was like, why am I not being able to do it? And she could evidence where she'd done it in the past. So when we looked at her values in line with health and fitness, she didn't have motivation in any of the top values. And it was like, well, this is why you're not motivated towards your health and fitness goal. So by doing realistic in the values and realigning them, we were able to put the fire, and that's how I'd like to describe it, back into the value so that is aligned to your goals. And I know when I went through the process, it was the same for me. I had relationship, family, career, and they were just all a little bit out of sorts. And that's like, well, no wonder I wasn't getting there fast enough. It didn't have my values aligned against my goals. So that a phenomenal tool, and to see that work in practice has been brilliant. In terms of some of the other tools that I've used, so one that I find really like my favorite is parts, the way you've got a conflict in terms of part of me. And I was this person because part of me was like, how can I work full time? And part of me said, can I work full time in the business? Yes. Part of me said no. So how do I bring that together in order to make that happen? And I'm working with a lady at the moment who is in a similar space. So part of her wants to dream life, but part of her wants to stay with a partner, and knowing that if she stays with her partner, she's not gonna be able to have that dream life. So there's a conflict there, and what this toolkit allows us to do is loosen up that conflict, be able to really rationalize with it, and be able to set that path straight so you know where you're going. And again, put the fire behind how you need to get to it. So yeah, some really interesting women that I'm working with at the moment, which is brilliant. And there's a few testimonials on the website of various different things that I've worked on. So, but they're really two standout ones. And then when I mentioned earlier, another lady that I was working in a role where she didn't have weekends off, struggling to see her children, and actually, like she's in a dream job now, flexible working, having the opportunity to have evenings and weekends off, never having to work a bank holiday. And it was just like a little bit of change, of reframing in order to make that happen. And the results speak for themselves, because it's just amazing to see it afterwards.
And it's so exciting though, isn't it? Like, I don't know about you, but I will never, ever, ever get bored of being able to help people. Never get bored of seeing the changes on someone's face, the way they light up when you've helped them get past the problem, navigate an obstacle, believe all of us it is possible to have the life that they want, and they don't have to stay stuck. Things don't have to be this way.
And to have that in your toolkit, because I'm a qualified coach through the ILM and Chartered Management Institute. So these qualifications that I've got through my career, and actually they are brilliant qualifications. They've got me where I need to be in terms of developing people in the role and throughout my career. But actually it's all conscious. So it's all what they perceive is the problem. And the great thing about NLP is it doesn't even scratch the surface what you think is the problem, and we can really get to the root cause. And that's what changed it for me. And that's why I'm such a believer in the process, because you don't need to go through the content and what it is that is holding you back, what you think it is that holding you back. Because once you've worked with me or any of the master coaches, we'll tell you what the real problem is, and then we can work with you on it. And until you address that real problem, is what I learned in through my whole process, it won't go away. And that's why you need this toolkit in order to identify it and remove it. So yeah, big believer.
And I think it's like the lady you talked about earlier, about her fitness goal. One of the things that you were saying to me before we went live tonight was that the fact that this lady believed she had motivation, she thought she had it. And it wasn't until you actually listened to their values and you actually got underneath the skin of it that you and she both discovered that she didn't actually have motivation after all, and it's like we have a phrase, don't we, in NLP, the presenting problem is rarely the real problem, and this is one of the reasons why, what I call conscious mind coaching is only ever limited. But until we find NLP, we think it's amazing and we do that because that's the toolkit we've got. And then we find NLP and then we go, oh my goodness, this is like coaching on a whole other level. So yeah, just for the purpose of everybody listening, Cat mentioned parts integration then. If you haven't ever come across parts integration, go back to series 2 of the podcast. I did an episode all around parts integration as a tool. So you can go back and listen to that. And if you want to hear my view on what I call conscious mind coaching versus NLP coaching, then check this series. I can't remember what episode it is, but you'll see an episode there from me all about coaching, and you can hear more about how we coach with NLP and how it's different and, in my opinion, much better. So yeah. Pat, you've been absolutely amazing. Like, we could sit here all night. I'm like, we've hit 50 minutes already. And I'm like, we're going to have to shut up. But I could sit here and talk to you all night. I seriously could, because you've got such an inspirational story and so successful you were already. And now this toolkit is taking you to the whole next level. And I can't wish you anything other than huge success with unstoppable success coaching. And I know it will be amazing. And I know you'll go on to help many, many, many talented people that are stuck in their career. And I just can't wait to cheer you on from the sidelines all the way. Now, Cat, people that are listening, if they want to reach out to you, if they want to get in contact, so maybe someone's looking for an inspirational speaker for their networks, or they're looking for a coach and they want to talk further with you about that, what is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Well, we're on all the platforms, which is probably why it took so long to launch. So yeah, LinkedIn is where you will be able to identify me. But Unstoppable Success as a company is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. So if you're not already following us on all of those, please do so. And who would have thought a coaching business on TikTok? But we're on there. So yeah,
I love it.
Reach out on LinkedIn, and then you've got the website, which is www.unstoppablesuccesscoachinglimited.com.
Fabulous. And limited as in LTD or actual limited?
Limited as in LTD.
LTD. Fabulous. Excellent. So, folks, go and check out Kat's website. So, Unstoppable Success Coaching Limited. Go and find her on our social media platforms. She puts out so much content on social media. I love following you, Kat. I'm never a dull moment when you're a follower of Cat Perkins. So just go and find Kat's profiles and go and follow her. So yeah. Now, Cat, as you'll know, as I think you've listened to some of the podcasts, I always finish on a bit of a quick round. We didn't talk about this before. And so I'm going to throw a few questions at you and I'm going to put her on the spot. She's got absolutely no idea what I'm about to ask her. And let's see how she gets on. I feel like a drum roll. So, Cat, question number 1. What one piece of advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Travel more. Start your NLP journey.
I love it. And if someone was stuck in their career right now today and they were feeling really like stuck and don't know what they're going to do, like, what would your one pearl of wisdom be?
Think about when you've failed in the past and did that stop you? So think about your driving test, think about your theory, think about that exam. Did you give up then? No, because your intuition is one of the most powerful tools that you have. So keep going.
I love it. So let me think. I'm going to make one up now that I've never asked before. So if you could go on holiday anywhere in the world, where would you go?
New Zealand.
Good choice. I love New Zealand.
See my sister.
Oh, I love it. Cool. And in terms of unleash your potential, what one word would you use to describe unleash your potential and your experience with us?
Wow. Put it in one word.
One word, yeah.
Powerful.
I love it.
Wow.
Cat Perkins, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. And I can't wait to beam you around the world to our international followers all over the world who are going to hear all about your story and your journey. And I wish lots of success to you. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. If you are interested in finding out more about any of the courses that Cat has mentioned on the podcast today, just go and check out our website, unleashyourpotential.org.uk. You'll find all the information about all the courses on there. And if you're a follower of the podcast, you'll know that I've recently launched a brand new guide, the ultimate guide on picking the right NLP course for you. So go and check that out. It's on the very front of the website. You can't miss it. Click that, download the PDF. And I just want to share NLP with the world. And I want more people to get out of their own way and have unstoppable success. So thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you, Cat. Take care all. And we will see you on the next podcast. Take care.